For years, Eleanor Harper poured her heart into others, believing love could conquer all. At 58, she'd given everything, her savings, her dreams, her youth, to raise a daughter who'd forgotten her sacrifices. Sound familiar? If you've ever felt invisible, judged for your simple life, or cast aside after years of giving, Eleanor's story will resonate. When betrayal struck and whispers of not enough echoed, she faced a choice: crumble or rise. What she hid, a secret fortune and a fiercer spirit, would shock those who scorned her. This isn't just a tale of heartbreak. It's a mirror for anyone who's carried others' burdens too long. Why did Eleanor stay silent? And what happens when a woman underestimated reclaims her worth? Step into her journey, it might feel like your own. Eleanor Harper had spent 30 years pouring her heart into raising her adopted daughter Lily. A single mother by choice, Eleanor worked grueling hours as a nurse in a small-town hospital in Willow Creek, Oregon. She bandaged Lily's scraped knees, stayed up late helping with homework, and saved every penny to send her to college. Eleanor skipped vacations, declined promotions that required relocation, and even turned down a marriage proposal from a kind widower, all to ensure Lily had a stable, loving home. Her modest ranch-style house was filled with memories of Lily's milestones, graduations, birthdays, and quiet evenings baking cookies together. Lily, now 28, had married Caleb, a real estate agent from a wealthy family in Portland. Caleb's parents, Victoria and Henry, never hid their disdain for Eleanor's humble background. They were old money, with a sprawling estate and connections in high society. Victoria, a sharp-tongued socialite, often remarked that Lily was lucky to have risen above her origins. Caleb, eager to impress his parents, joined in, subtly mocking Eleanor's outdated furniture or her small-town ways. Lily, desperate to fit into Caleb's world, began echoing their sentiments, rolling her eyes when Eleanor offered advice or brought homemade gifts. Despite the growing distance, Eleanor held on to hope. She believed love could bridge any gap. But that hope began to crack when the hospital downsized, and Eleanor at 58 lost her job. Eleanor sat at Lily's sleek Portland condo, her hands folded tightly in her lap. She'd driven 3 hours to share the news, expecting sympathy. Instead, Lily's face twisted with frustration. "You just quit," Lily snapped, pacing the marble kitchen. "Mom, how could you be so irresponsible?" "I didn't quit, sweetheart," Eleanor said softly. "They let go of half the staff. I'm looking for work, but..." "You're 58. Lily interrupted. "Who's going to hire you? You can't just dump this on us." Caleb, lounging on the couch, chimed in. "Yeah, Eleanor, we're not exactly rolling in cash. We've got a baby on the way. We can't support you." Eleanor's heart sank. She hadn't asked for support. She'd only wanted to share her burden. But the conversation spiraled. Lily and Caleb berated her for not saving enough for retirement, conveniently forgetting that Eleanor had paid off their condo's down payment with her life savings. Victoria, who happened to be visiting, joined in, her voice dripping with condescension. "Perhaps you could find work as a caregiver," Victoria suggested, sipping her wine. "There's always demand for people like you." When Eleanor mentioned wanting to retire someday, Lily laughed bitterly. "Retire? With what? You've got no pension, no savings. You'll have to work until you're 80. Caleb nodded. "Maybe you could move into one of those senior homes. I can make some calls." Before Eleanor could respond, Caleb was on the phone, inquiring about assisted living facilities, right in front of her. Victoria smirked, and Lily didn't stop him. The final blow came when Lily, eyes cold, said, "You always held me back, Mom. If I'd grown up with real parents, I wouldn't be stuck proving myself to Caleb's family. You owe me better than this." Humiliated and heartbroken, Eleanor gathered her things and left. She didn't tell them about the secret that had changed her life 6 months earlier. Her late mentor, Dr. Evelyn Reed, had left her an inheritance of $10 million. Eleanor drove back to Willow Creek in silence, tears blurring the highway. She didn't need Lily's charity. She had more than enough to start over. But the betrayal cut deeper than she'd expected. For years, she'd given everything to Lily, only to be discarded like an inconvenience. Determined to reclaim her life, Eleanor met with a financial advisor and began investing her fortune. She bought a stunning coastal villa in Cannon Beach, its floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Pacific. She also purchased a charming farmhouse in the Willamette Valley, envisioning it as a retreat for herself and perhaps a future community project. At an open house for the farmhouse, Eleanor crossed paths with Sophie, Victoria's niece and Lily's cousin. Sophie, a junior real estate agent, didn't recognize Eleanor at first. When she did, her smile turned smug. "Oh, you're Lily's mom? What are you doing here? This place is way out of your league." Eleanor remained calm, her nurse's composure intact. She toured the property, asked pointed questions, and then, to Sophie's shock, made an offer on the spot. The senior agent, Rachel, handled the transaction with respect, noting Eleanor's substantial bank transfer. Sophie's jaw dropped as Rachel congratulated Eleanor on her purchase. Humiliated, Sophie muttered an apology, but Eleanor simply smiled and walked away. A week later, at another property showing, Sophie tried to undermine Eleanor again, spreading whispers that she was a nobody pretending to be rich. Eleanor overheard and decided enough was enough. She approached Rachel, who'd become an ally, and shared a recording of Sophie's earlier insults, including a cruel remark Sophie had made about Lily's marriage. Rachel, appalled, reported Sophie to their agency, leading to her suspension. Back in Portland, Lily and Caleb's lives began to unravel. Caleb's real estate deals were faltering, and Lily, overwhelmed by pregnancy and financial stress, leaned into resentment. She started posting on social media, painting Eleanor as a neglectful mother who'd abandoned her in her time of need. The posts gained traction, with strangers piling on, calling Eleanor heartless. Caleb fueled the narrative, claiming Eleanor had squandered their inheritance, oblivious to her actual wealth. Eleanor, initially reluctant to engage, realized silence wasn't an option. She created a blog and a YouTube channel, something she'd never imagined doing. In a series of videos, she told her story with quiet dignity. She revealed that Lily was adopted, shared photos of the sacrifices she'd made, paying for Lily's braces, driving her to college interviews, selling her car to cover tuition. She spoke of the condo she'd bought for Lily and Caleb, and the pain of being cast out when she needed support. Finally, she disclosed her inheritance, showing bank statements to silence doubters. The response was overwhelming. Viewers flooded her channel with support, praising her resilience. Lily's posts, exposed as lies, lost credibility. Her followers dwindled, and her account was suspended for harassment after Eleanor's legal team flagged it. Eleanor didn't stop at words. She hired a lawyer and sued Lily and Caleb for defamation. The court ruled in her favor, awarding her damages and ordering Lily to retract her claims publicly. Eleanor also pursued legal action to reclaim the condo, which she'd technically co-owned. The process was slow but successful. She regained the property and put it up for sale. Lily's marriage crumbled under the strain. Caleb, facing mounting debts, blamed Lily for their public humiliation. Lily filed for divorce, moving back in with Victoria and Henry, who now treated her with thinly veiled disappointment. Victoria, ever the opportunist, tried to mend fences with Eleanor at a charity gala in Portland, where Eleanor had become a quiet philanthropist, funding local clinics and shelters. At the gala, Victoria approached, all smiles. "Eleanor, darling, let's put this nonsense behind us. Family is family after all." Eleanor, poised in a tailored dress, looked her in the eye. "Family doesn't discard each other, Victoria. You taught Lily that lesson, not me." When Victoria's friends joined in, whispering that Eleanor's wealth was suspicious, a gala organizer, a former patient of Eleanor's, overheard and vouched for her integrity. Eleanor calmly displayed her financial portfolio on her phone, silencing the room. Victoria left in a huff, her social standing dented. Lily made one last attempt to reconnect, sending a tearful email begging for forgiveness and a loan. Eleanor read it, her heart heavy but resolute. She replied with a single line. "I gave you everything once. Now I'm giving myself peace." She blocked Lily's number and moved on. Eleanor sold the coastal villa and the farmhouse, realizing she didn't need grand properties to feel whole. She bought a cozy cottage by a lake in Bend, Oregon, surrounded by pines and open sky. She furnished it with books, a piano she'd always wanted to learn, and a garden where she grew lavender and roses. She volunteered at a community health center, teaching first aid to teenagers and mentoring young nurses. Sitting by the lake one evening, Eleanor reflected on her life. She didn't regret adopting Lily. Those years of love were real, even if unreturned. But she wished she'd learned sooner that kindness without boundaries could become a cage. She'd spent decades putting others first, only to discover that self-respect was the foundation of a meaningful life. "I gave too much," she wrote in her journal. "But I'm not broken. I'm free." Word reached her that Lily was struggling, divorced, estranged from Caleb's family, and grappling with depression. Eleanor felt a pang of sorrow but no guilt. She'd done her best, and some bridges couldn't be rebuilt. Eleanor's story spread beyond her blog, inspiring others to value themselves without needing validation from those who'd hurt them. She started a podcast, Finding Home, where she interviewed people who'd overcome betrayal and rebuilt their lives. Her message was simple: love generously but never at the cost of your own dignity. Her philosophy crystallized one night as she played her piano, the notes drifting over the lake. Life, she realized, wasn't about proving your worth to others, it was about knowing it yourself. Kindness was a gift, but it had to be balanced with strength. Eleanor had spent years carrying others' burdens, only to learn that the lightest load was self-acceptance. As the stars reflected on the water, she smiled. She was home, not just in her cottage but in herself. Life lesson. The story teaches that selflessness is noble, but it must be tempered with self-respect. Giving everything to others without protecting your own worth can lead to exploitation and heartbreak. True strength lies in knowing when to walk away and choosing to live for yourself. Philosophical insight. Life's deepest fulfillment comes from self-acceptance, not external validation. Kindness is a powerful force, but it must be wielded with wisdom, offered freely, yet never at the expense of one's own dignity. By valuing ourselves, we create space for genuine connection and inner peace.